That is one sensational creature. Look at those patterns. Look at that. That is just unbelievable. So when Luke Pearce rang me up and said, "Hey Dave, I think I've found a bell frog, and it's on the Tablelands," it was super exciting. Then the real question was, which bell frog was it? Could it possibly be the yellow-spotted bell frog that we hadn't seen for 30 years?
12 months later we were back there, it was nearly to the day, and I don't think it would have even been 2 minutes we'd been on the creek, and we heard this frog call, and Dave and I just looked at each other and both said at the same time, "Did you hear that?"
Until we had one in the hand, we weren't quite sure which one it was.
And we nearly stepped on one. There was one right on the bank there, and Dave leapt on it like a cat leaping on a mouse. And
sure enough, yep, it was one of the yellow-spotted bell frogs.
There was a whole bunch of excitement and cheering and high-fiving and racing up to get phone reception to ring people and let them know. And
sensational, guys.
It never dawned on me that this particular frog wasn't around the waterways anymore. Yeah, until Dave started telling me how rare they were, and I thought, oh, I've never heard that flop into the water for ages. Well, I was enthusiastic about it, and I think it's terrific.
So this species, up until the late 1970s, all the reports said that this was a very common species throughout the Tablelands region, and that rapidly changed to we can no longer find them. We now know that the prime cause of that very rapid decline is the introduction into the landscape of a pathogen known as the amphibian chytrid fungus. So once we knew that the frog was here, the first step for us was to then find out, well, what is actually going on with the population? So we went about doing that, and unfortunately, in a way, we found that, hey, there's probably less than 100 males remaining in this site, which told us that in actual fact this population is not secure at all. We collected a dozen tadpoles, put into captivity. We had planned to capture more to put into captivity, but unfortunately we then had the La Nina years in 2010 and 12, resulted in large heavy downpours through late spring and summer here. Big flood event through here that scoured out the creek and scoured out a lot of the critical vegetation that this frog needs. And that in combination with the wet year exacerbating the impact of the pathogen resulted in the local extinction of the frog from this site, the last remnant population of this species. So the small number of animals, the 14 animals that were collected as late tadpole stages, they were immediately taken to Taronga Zoo and put in a captive breeding or captive rearing and breeding program.
I really bring people down here. So behind us here is our yellow-spotted bell frog breeding facility, and we attempted for the first couple of years to breed them the same way we would breed green and golden bell frogs, which are closely related species. And we tried that for a few years with these guys with no success. So these guys proved to be a bit more difficult to breed, which is why we built this facility, to give them as much natural conditions as possible. And it seems it's done the trick. Once the frogs go in here, it's very little labour. However, once they lay the eggs and we harvest the eggs, that's when the labour intensiveness starts, setting up rows and rows of tadpole tanks, siphonning the tanks every day, maintaining water quality, feeding. It can take many, many hours a day to get through a lot of that work. Now that we've had some breeding success this year, and we've got a couple of clutches of eggs, we've got hundreds of young tadpoles and young frogs coming through. Now's the next stage, we're going to trial translocation.
This is really, really exciting. We probably should get out there and actually get on with the job at hand. Bit of a gathering from different organisations, Landcare, LLS, New South Wales Fisheries, OEH, the property owner, because, well, for one thing, it's a big charismatic frog that was very prominent in the landscape, and it's great to see that maybe there's a hope for the future to get them back. Today was about getting the frog back out in the system so that we can then start to investigate, well, what is it going to take to re-establish and have self-sustaining bell frogs out here.
That's right. I guess you can say it, can't you?
They're pretty. Oh, they're beautiful. I feel confident that, sort of given the time and support, we'll achieve that with this species as well. So if we hadn't put animals in captivity, we would have lost this population entirely.
Cherish it and get the best out of it, and be aware that the people that are interested in saving it are not interested in putting you out of business. So I think that's the thing that I learned.
And to have these frogs here was unbelievable. It's put us on the map.